Here is the Sports Center. John and John, Warriors and Raptors. After one game, Canada's record in the NBA Finals was perfect. They were undefeated.
Yeah, the Canadian that invented that game, Jimmy Naismith, born 1861. So it was a win, John, 158 years in the making. What about game two? Back in Toronto. Don't say the second T, kids. It's Toronto. The president in the house. The Drake in the house again. Toronto off to a good start, up by 4, late first quarter, 17-13. Siakam alley-oop. That brought an ooh and ah in the Sports Center newsroom. And things are looking good for the Raptors to go up 2-0. Second quarter. Steph, just 4 points in the first. 0-4, looked a bit dazed or something. But finally, at long last, snakes his way through the Raptor defense and knocks down the 3. Curry, 10 points in the final 4 minutes of the second. 16 total at the half. He and Klay keeping Golden State afloat. And then third quarter is where things get interesting. Kevin Durant with some pre-third quarter words. And this is a team that has dominated third quarters. Like all great teams throughout NBA history. Coming out after the break and making a statement. Iguodala from Cousins. Klay, Green as Steph sets the pick. Next possession. Boogie, Klay with the left. Klay again. Rocking the suburbs, just like Quiet Riot did. And a chirp for the bench. 70-59 now, an 11-point lead. What a game for Draymond, almost a triple-double. The Warriors go on a 20-0 run spanning the second and third quarters. 18-0 run to begin the half. Tough sight here. Klay goes down, leg split again, and the left hamstring takes the brunt. Watch him get knocked right there, and awkward. How bad is it? Is it just a strain? Could something be a bit torn? We shall see. 8-point lead, Golden State. The Raptors just could not shoot the basketball in the second half. Kyle Lowry does that get one. Denny, history scholarship winner. Drake is pumped. They cut it down to 4. It's a 4-point game. Quinn Cook. The bench got off to a slow start for Golden State, but they finished strong. Cook knocks down 2 big threes in the fourth quarter. Warriors take a 10-point lead. Klay, as you can see, leaves the game with 8 minutes left. He would not come back. Looking good now. 8-point lead, but then for some reason, Steph kind of throws the ball 50 feet with 5.9 to go. So they don't get the free throw. They don't extend the game. Now, if he misses that, it works out fine, but it doesn't miss. And what a game for Andre Iguodala, playing the tough defense, the quick hands with steals, and when he needs to, knocks down the 3. As Kawhi and the Raptors head to the room, Thompson limps as he congratulates his team, tying the series at 1. Wow, this is what changed the game. In a 6.5-minute span across the second and third quarters, the Warriors go on that big run, 24-1, which includes a 20-0 run, the largest run in a finals game since the merger. Raptors 0 for 8 in that stretch and 6 turnovers. The series is tied at 1.
It was a great win. Now we got to go home and protect our home floor, and we'll see about all the injuries. But I'm very proud of our team, and in particular, all the guys off the bench. Quinn Cook hit some huge shots, and Bogut came in, gave us big minutes. Jerebko as well. So it's a hell of an effort from the bench.
I feel like in that third quarter, we didn't score the ball in like the first 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes. Obviously led to them getting out in transition early and, a lot of layups and open looks. And that was pretty much the game right there. Went on like a 15-18-0 run, I believe. And, you can't do that with a championship team on the other side.
We had to be more on point, a lot sharper, and trusting each other, and not, thinking that we can do it all at once by ourselves, and trying to, play hero ball. So we continue to trust the system. I think we'll be okay.
When you come to the timeout after a couple runs like that, and everybody's involved, whether they're scoring or setting screens or making the assist or whatever the case is, everybody feels good, and the vibe is just solid, and we know that we've taken control of the momentum, and then it's just about sustaining it, down the stretch. So, obviously, third quarters have been great for us. Game one, couldn't get over the hump, but tonight was a different story because of our defense, and everybody contributed to that.
Toronto leading at halftime, nominally good.
Yes.
They had the best record in the league when leading at halftime. 16 for 16, Kawhi at the line. All right, the Warriors, they don't like when they're down in a series under Steve Kerr. They're now 7-1 when trailing the series at any point under Kerr, so they can bounce back. They're only lost Game 4, Conference Final 2016, outscoring opponents by 11 in these games as well. So they come back with a purpose.
But they have to go back to the ice bag again. Klay Thompson, latest in the training. Leaves in the fourth quarter, landed oddly there at that three-point shot. Hobbled around for a couple of minutes, eventually left the game for good with 8 minutes left. Hamstring tightness is the early assessment. More to come when he gets back to the Bay, but just add them up. Klay, KD, Looney, Boogie, AI. A lot of guys banged up. Steve Kerr, not a doctor.
Klay said he'll be fine, but, Klay could be half dead, and he'd say we'll see. He pulled his hamstring. He thinks it's minor. So I don't know what that means going forward.
Well, despite missing those last 8 minutes, Klay Thompson still leads Golden State in scoring with 25 points. Stephen A. Smith across the border. He's working up north. And Stephen A., who's the Cavalry in this game? Because Boogie was great, and Draymond was great, and Quinn Cook was great. I mean, AI, who's your hero here?
Well, to me, the hero is Boogie Cousins. I thought he was the MVP of the game because of the way that he played in the second half. To start after Jordan Bell had started in game one, to come off the bench, Steve Kerr recognizing he needed more size to go up against the Gasols and Ibakas of the world, and for Boogie Cousins to come in and to do what he did in terms of rebounding and assists. I thought he was absolutely sensational in the second half and basically played the role that we're accustomed to seeing Draymond Green plays. He was actually defending very well on pick and roll situations as well. So considering quad injury that he suffered, the way that he was moving in pick and roll situations where people tried to compromise him, he was defending well, he was rebounding well, and he was just throwing exceptional passes all night long. That combined with the whole bench overall. Quinn Cook came off the bench, all 9 of his points on three-pointers, including 2 key three-pointers in the second half. McKinney had a big-time shot as well. You just look at the guys and the way they produced off the bench. You just can't say enough. Steve Kerr pushed the right buttons. These guys, they're reserves. They're guys that weren't stars, stepped up and really balled. And you can't say enough about the way that Draymond Green has been playing. He's been absolutely sensational thus far in these first 2 games. And obviously he was sensational throughout most of these players to begin with.
Steve Kerr had to go 11 deep in this game. The Raptors, they played 8. That said, with these injuries, and you talk about the bench, we move forward. And if you got those kids in the hall limping around, KD and Klay, what's a reasonable expectation for Golden State, even if they get to go home and play on their home court?
That they could be in some trouble because depth does matter. And listen, let's face reality here. If you take Klay out of the mix, then that gives you more of an opportunity to focus on Steph because you're going to dare Draymond and Iguodala and guys like that to beat you from the perimeter. Now, Iguodala reminded us of what I've been saying. He's supposed to be able to hit those open three-point shots because they're giving it to him. That's why he was once the Finals MVP, because they gave him open three-point shots when he went against Cleveland, and he made them. He did the same thing tonight in pivotal moments, particularly in the second half, obviously, so you got to give him all the credit in the world. But with Klay out, he'd have to do that more. Remember, Kevon Looney has got his collarbone injured. That's a problem. Can you trust that Boogie Cousins can give you another 27 minutes after he had only gave you 8 in game 1? These are the kind of things that are question marks. So you don't want to sit up there and say they can't win without a Kevin Durant. But with everybody else hobbling around, you're just one other injury away from everything snowballing if you're not careful. So it would be nice to make sure that those guys can play and that they're ready to go.
They're literally trying to limp to the finish line. Stephen A. Smith, that's his first take before first take. Thank you, brother.
Thanks a lot.
teams now 3 wins away from a championship. Golden State began the third quarter on an 18-0 run, largest run to start any half in the NBA Finals since the ABA-NBA merger. The previous best was a 14-0 run the Lakers had against the 76ers in 1980. For more on the third quarter, here's Tim Legler in his lab.
Boots, really 2 key stretches in this game. I thought one key was at the end of the second quarter when Steph Curry got loose a little bit and got into the game and cut that lead from 12 to 5 going into the locker room. And then the second one was here. You mentioned that run at the start of the third. Let's look at how they did it. This is vintage Warriors offense. And this is a set play. What you're trying to get is a back screen here, and you're going to get a cut. You take Iguodala and get him out of there. And then the last part of this is DeMarcus Cousins cleaning up for Steph Curry. And if you run this all the way through, you're maybe going to get Curry with a look right here. But the first part of it is this back screen right here on Kawhi Leonard. Stop. You see Danny Green, he is so concerned right now about Steph Curry getting loose for a 3. He doesn't bump on this screen at all. So Draymond Green gets a free release. This is simple pitch and catch. You get an uncontested layup, and it's really created with their motion, their passing, and then the threat that Steph Curry is all over the floor, and you have to be perfect on communication. Very next possession, Steph Curry looks up. He sees this. You got an early seal ahead with DeMarcus Cousins. You take a look at Steph. You see his hand right here. He's basically telling Andre Iguodala, throw the ball into the post, and we're going to play out of this toy that we have this year in this postseason now with DeMarcus Cousins playing out of the post. And again, take a look at Steph Curry. He occupies 2 guys. Danny Green reluctant to leave. Kawhi Leonard gets hung up in the traffic right here, and as a result, you get another free release out of Klay Thompson, and this is a simple post pass on a cut for Klay to get a layup. So this run at the start of the third was really created by the Warriors' movement, motion, unselfishness, and the Toronto Raptors never really recovered. This is where it got away from them, and now Golden State, despite being banged up, had that split that they wanted on the road so desperately.
3 in a row, and you're going to need health on your side, and you see that currently it's a bit of walking wounded. DeMarcus Cousins comes back, plays as well as he does. Andre Iguodala dealing with the calf issues. He delivers the ultimate knockout blow. Kevon Looney wasn't able to go in this one because of the chest contusion, and then Klay Thompson obviously out with that hamstring that Coach Kerr was just talking about. We welcome in the great Doris Burke now, and Doris, look, there's so many things to look at here, and I guess I would just start with the guys that were on the floor and were asked to deliver, were able to. What does that say about the collective of this group?
I just thought the whole night was the epitome of championship mettle. When you want to understand what it looked like tonight from the Golden State Warriors, and it was across the board. The confidence that Quinn Cook showed in knocking down shots after Klay Thompson hits that, the thigh injury or the hamstring injury. Kevon Looney going down. I mean, I thought it was extraordinary across the board. And it was really, to me, I know there were some X's and O's, but to me it was about toughness and make them feel you, and defensively having the pride to say, you're not doing to us what you did the other night. Championship medal. That's what this was all about for me.
I completely agree, and I think you heard Draymond after that last game talk about what Siakam did, and he said, look, we're not going to have that. I mean, 52 in game 1. He and Gasol combined for 18. When Kerr says make them feel us, you asked him specifically about that. Doris, what do they mean? What does that mean specifically?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to come with a level of intention, and it starts always with getting back in transition. When we asked Steph and Draymond what did not translate on film that you saw in game 1, and spot on immediately, both of them said speed. So the first thing they had to do was get back and build their defense and make them play in a half court. Then it's about intention. What are you trying to do from a tactical standpoint? What are you sending at Kawhi Leonard? How are you recovering to shooters? It just felt like a completely different team on the defensive end. And I will say this, and I heard Jeff Van Gundy talk about this, like at some point, when do you not have enough? It felt fragile tonight, Scott. I missed a good portion of this basketball game because I was constantly heading back to the locker room for one injury or another. I think in light of what they had to fight through just in the course of the game, and Steph Curry, I'm telling you the truth, he tried to sprint off the floor because he was not feeling well, and he's a consummate pro, and he came back and answered the questions, but he wasn't right all night long. So this to me was just a special win. If they walk away with this championship, they're going to remember Game 2 on the road in Toronto.
Yep, because it was really, in many respects, not a work of art, but nobody cares when you're having a parade, man. Can you win 4 games? And you got to win them ugly, and they did. Doris, appreciate the time always.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Another look at the winning play, what ultimately provided a cushion that was too great for the Raptors to overcome. After very nearly losing the ball, Livingston finds Iguodala, and a former Finals MVP looked at it, thought about it for a split second, was like, I'll pull this. All of y'all, hold this L. Take it with you. Big shot from Iguodala. And that helps Steve Kerr vault up this list. As a player and a coach, the man's been involved in the finals 10 times. It's almost embarrassing. Nothing to be embarrassed about. Look at that company. He's now up to 76 victories. We welcome in Paul Pierce. And Paul, Doris was just talking about the fragile nature of the guys on the court and who is able to go and who's not. I want to ask you about a Raptors team that was cooking with gas, man. They take out Milwaukee 4 straight. They went on their home floor in this one. They're up double digits in the second, and now it's the series is tied. How fragile is confidence when you're new to this and the champs respond as they did?
I think their confidence is fractured. I mean, I think it started there in the second quarter when they had a chance to really expand on the lead. Golden State pulled it within 5. Then they came out in the third quarter, went on this 18-0 run, and that really put a dent in their confidence. When you waste a game like this, that Kawhi Leonard goes off for 34 points, 14 rebounds, you lose this game. Now you got to go on the road in Golden State where they're as tough as anybody in the NBA. They know that it's an uphill battle from here on out.
Paul, help me understand. I mean, look, you played at a star level in this league, but when you've got guys like, say, a Cook on your team, and you're a role player means you play your role. Be great in your role, right? That's the old saying.
Yes.
How do you create a culture where a guy knows his role, but then when that role changes, he's able to elevate his game to a different type of role?
Well, everybody wants more. When you win, Cook was on the championship last year team, and everybody wants more. But he has an understanding of this is what they need from me right now for us to win. And then now when guys go down, he says, okay, I'm going to get more of an opportunity. I've been waiting on this opportunity for a long time. And he steps into that expanded role, and he steps up a role that he's been wanting probably all year long. But, patience is virtue. He stepped right into that role and knocked down some key shots. I mean, he made a huge impact on tonight's game, and, that's what championship teams are all about.
Agreed. Now, Golden State's been able to figure out how to survive without Durant for the stretch that they have, including that end of Game 5 against Houston and then Game 6 on the road. They were able to get through Portland, and so far, here they are with a split. But if Klay's hamstring's not right, and you got to go without him, and you got to go without KD, at some point, man, 48 minutes is a long time without those guys. Can you win a game without those guys, even at home?
You know what? After tonight, I'm not putting anything past the Golden State Warriors.
Understood.
I mean, they have the championship DNA. I feel like whoever they put out there, they can get it done. You have the 2-time MVP in Curry. You have Finals MVP in Iguodala. Cousins is starting to come around. So I wouldn't put it past them. If Klay doesn't play or KD doesn't play, Golden State is still a great team.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't just get, as a guy who's been through it, you try to play hurt, you try to come back from injuries. Boogie Cousins, I'm amazed that he's able to give them that. What did you make of his performance tonight, Paul?
It was extraordinary, to tell you the truth, because I didn't expect him to give much in this series after coming off 2 injuries in this season.
Right.
For him to have an impact, and this kind of impact in just his second game, I'm amazed. I mean, he outplayed Gasol and Ibaka together. Huge points, huge rebounds, huge defense, his passing. And, my hat's off to him because I doubted he can even help this Warriors team in this series, and he's been a big contributor tonight.
Amazing. Paul, thanks so much for the time. Good to visit, man.
All right, thank you.
And I mean, this is the graphic representation of just the minutes. Because look, everyone had their jokes about, you know, what kind of shape could the man be in. What you heard Steve Kerr mention it. What they thought maybe he could give him 20. Well, 28 minutes, and Looney goes out. So Bogut comes in and he gives you something. But a double-double, and you know, four assists shy of a triple-double, and Boogie perhaps will be joining us as we continue to discuss this series evening victory. Stephen A. Smith definitely set to join us. We'll get the Raptors' thoughts as well as Game 2 goes the way of the road team.